at 6:31. And the first order of business is acceptance of the minutes of the meeting of September 14th. We did send them out to everybody.
So
And-
moved.
Yes, okay.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. So the minutes are taken care of. Next is John on here. Would you like to come to the mic?
Hi, good evening, everybody. John March, Hunter Communications, here to see if there are any issues you need me to address. This evening, I don't have any new information to report, but happy to answer any questions the committee may have this evening.
I got one question. We're going to respond to your outside counsel, your attorney, Dan Rising? Is that how you pronounce it?
Rain.
Rain? How do you pronounce it?
Rain.
Rain. And suggests a date in January. Who's going to be part of that negotiating committee on Charter Spectrum's behalf?
Well, Dan will certainly be involved, and there may be others. I don't know exactly who would be, but he's our outside counsel.
Okay.
So outside counsel is going to deal with us without anybody from you or?
Oh, no, there'll be others. I just don't know specifically who.
Okay.
So I think what was suggested is a Zoom meeting for the people that are out east.
Yes.
Yeah.
Would be preferable on our part, and obviously the weather could be a factor in January as well.
Yeah. And we're ready to accommodate that, the Zoom meeting.
Great, that would be great.
We have a tentative date to,
You'll be receiving a letter on that.
yeah, we
Okay.
will do an official notice with that.
Soon.
And set a time, because we don't have a time yet. Okay?
Sounds good.
Your report that you sent us is simple enough that you can do that quickly. So if you would do that, just
I'm sorry?
for the record, the written report that you sent,
Yes.
can you just deliver?
Yeah, just if anybody has any questions or concerns, just to communicate those on a regular basis to me, and
I think the
I'll
issue
follow up.
that Linda's trying to make is not everyone who would be at home watching this has received your report. So it's usually been traditional to kind of do a summary of the report. If not, read the report if it's short. So I don't know if you can do
That's
that.
basically what the report says. Just, I'm happy to answer any questions, and if folks have any questions, thoughts, or concerns, I'd prefer that we take care of them rather than quarterly on a regular basis, but that's the gist of the report.
I received through the link system through the town of Lennox, something that was pertinent to you, to Spectrum. And it was from a person who has filed many complaints, he said. He said, however, he has had some problems recently that between service, technical service and customer service. He really thinks that the people at Spectrum are really wonderful.
That's good to hear.
And could I please pass that on?
Yes.
So, here you
Thank
are.
you. Appreciate that. It's nice to hear those compliments once in a while.
Yes, but, I mean, he says it didn't fix the problem, but the people worked very hard.
And it's still unresolved?
I don't know at this point. He hasn't followed up on that.
Well, if you give me that person's name and address, contact information,
I'll forward it to you.
I'm happy to follow up if
I'll forward it to you.
we want to continue to be happy.
Something that we did bring up at past meetings is still not corrected. If anything, it's gotten worse, and that is the lack of synchronicity between audio and video signals.
Yeah, with the big, I've asked folks about that, and we just pass on what we receive, so we have no control from the programmers. We just pass along what they send to us, so we don't have any control over the audio.
If it was one channel I would say that was, and it was there, the programmer is the problem. But it's on most channels now.
I wonder if it'd be helpful to take a video from a cell phone, document the subscriber, their address, and send a copy of the video to Spectrum so that he has the
That would be
information to investigate. Right now, it's just, it's hearsay kind of.
Well, I had texts come out to my house recently.
So it's still at your house too?
Yes.
Yeah.
He
Okay.
was not able to find anything wrong in my house or outside
All right.
in the box.
This is through cable box.
Yeah,
I think,
but I have 3 sets, and it's on all 3 sets.
I think Dennis's suggestion is good, because I have no problem. I never have it out of sync.
Your wiring in Sheffield is newer.
Well, I know, so what we're talking about is a site-specific problem.
No,
So-
it's not. It's, I think, Anita, you said you had that problem.
You know, I've been watching more carefully, and I think a lot of times that it's out of sync is when a person is on remotely. So like if you're watching, say, MSNBC, and they have people in different locations, those people are out of sync.
So
with the
I've seen
person-
that. Do it either, so it's a program.
That's not what I'm counting,
Yeah.
though. I'm counting,
With
for instance, the show host who's talking is out of sync, too.
Yeah, I
So if you
haven't
took a
noticed.
video and you could show the technician or the engineer or whatever at Spectrum that this is the program that we're having problems, that the audio doesn't match the video, they might say that, well, that's the feed that we're getting from ABC or NBC. We can't do anything about it. Or they could say, oh yeah, that's our issue. We'll investigate it.
It's not on a single channel.
Yeah.
Well, I think the issue again is we bring up these issues that, are specific issues to specific areas that I think Dennis is making a good point again, because if a technician has visual evidence, instead of them trying to figure out what does this mean, you're showing them exactly. But I think we had previously discussed that the way to resolve problems, and if they're not resolved, to escalate them to John, is for someone who's having a problem to address it with the technician. I must continue to feel that this is not necessarily the forum in which to bring up individual issues.
Well, as I said before, it's not just me. I mean, I live in a
List all
42 unit. I
List
live in
the
a 42
We
unit.
are all extremely familiar with this unit and its problems, so I think documentation will help, I hope. And we've had reports that they've come out and done major work at your facility. But again, I think individual problems, whether it's one house or a complex, should be documented as thoroughly as possible, and when they're not resolved, escalated to John. Because we in Sheffield have had good results with escalation to John.
Well, I'm happy to look if you can just document it in a video. And
I've had the
That's fine.
problem
Happy to
using
pass it along.
using an app. I have smart TVs, and I've had the problem on a few different channels, and usually switching off to another channel and then going back again corrects the problem. Obviously, you're not doing that. You're using a cable box, but you're in a multi-unit. You're in a multi-unit housing development of some sort.
It's a condo
It's a
association.
condo, so obviously there's some sort of distribution system in place, separate and apart from what Spectrum has coming off the
No,
the line
it's
drop.
Spectred's lines.
Yeah,
Well, I know, but unless Spectrum installed the distribution system, in other words, you can't take one drop line from the pole and feed 42 units. So there has to be a distribution system in place.
There is a district,
Okay.
and it's Spectrum.
And it's all Spectrum?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
The internal
I'm
wiring?
curious.
I don't think the building is internal
They
wiring.
don't normally.
I, most recently, maybe 3-4 weeks ago, had a tech come out because it was getting to be impossible. I mean, it really, you couldn't watch things. He checked the incoming signal was good, the wiring in the house was good. I have 3 sets. He checked all 3 of them. They all 3 have boxes, which were functioning. But he did suggest maybe to change out the boxes, because maybe it was the boxes. I have changed boxes recently. Doesn't help.
Did the technician see the issue while he was there, or she? Did the technician see?
He saw it on, yeah, he only looked at really one set. The other ones he just kind of glanced at. But
And what channel was it?
it was on several channels.
And the technician saw it on several
Yeah,
channels?
and he says, there's not, he says everything that's coming, that appears to be coming in is fine.
I mean, I've been a technician for 50 years.
And I happen to be the first unit in the association, so if I've got it, chances are everybody's got it.
Well, okay. There's two types of lag. There's video follow audio and audio follow video. Either the video's ahead of the sound or the sound's ahead of the video. Each one can indicate a different problem.
Yeah.
But, by process of elimination, I mean, just very rudimentary sort of fix would be to take her cable box, pick off the signal before it hits the distribution system and see if it's doing the same thing. That's just the technician part. That's the easy part. There's no test equipment involved. It's just a monitor and a cable box and see if it does the same thing.
Well-
And if it doesn't, trouble's in the distribution system. If it's doing the same thing, well, then it's in your system.
The tech that was out replaced some connectors, but that wouldn't do it.
Normally not.
No, and that's all he did because they were old. And
Are there, is the system all digital now?
I believe so, yes.
So you're not dealing with analog signals at all on the system?
Be helpful.
So it's.
But I'm not a technician.
No. I'm not trying to get
No,
too
no.
technical,
Yeah.
even though I could. Just very basically asking, the fact that it's not analog. It shouldn't be that hard of a problem to.
it shouldn't be, but
Right, yeah.
what it appears to be is the fact that the feeder cable coming in is now, it's fiber,
Right.
okay?
Right.
But the lines in the development are not, they're coax.
Right. And there's there's a fiber to digital converter box, which then gets fed into a distribution system, amp, whatever you want to call it, and then that gets fed out to the system.
Yes, but what's happening
apartments.
is that there's tiling and freezing as well. It's buffering.
Okay.
Because the signal is coming in faster on the, from
Well,
the
300 megahertz bandwidth shouldn't allow any buffering.
We shouldn't be solving individual problems here.
No, but I'm saying,
I don't know.
but if it exists in other places, then it's a spectrum problem. If it's
Spectrum
primarily in
has
certain
line of sight
areas.
to all the complaints that are coming in.
Yes.
And if the complaint isn't common to the neighborhood, then it's isolated at the condo.
Right, yeah, I haven't seen the complaints, so I don't know where they're coming
What's
from.
happened is people have just gotten to the point where they say, I call, somebody comes out, it doesn't get fixed. I call, somebody comes out, it doesn't get fixed. And after a while, they give up.
Well, it's never going to get fixed if people don't group together. If you've got 42 units, you must have condo meetings. There should be, my suggestion, a survey sent out. Are you having problems? If so, what are they? Gather whether you are the sole source or whether there's 22 or 42. This is the type of information that needs to be gathered rather than continually giving up or feeling that nothing can be done. Again, this poor complex has had problems as long as I've been on this committee. And they never seem to get resolved, but I'm not sure that they're ever to the point where I mean, we have heard where they have been resolved, but I mean, again, I just don't feel it is proper at this committee to discuss a set of issues that do not seem to be well-defined. Dennis has made a suggestion as to how to address it, and you don't know whether this is solely your issue as the first unit, which would help them probably diagnose the problem, or whether it's everyone who was in the condo, and I know your condo has people who are only there part-time, but this isn't the forum for discuss how to resolve
I think
this issue.
Spectrum has defined a process, which is
Yeah.
that you provide as much
Still get it.
detail as possible in terms of the location, the customer, the time, and any kind of specifics, and maybe a video of that would be supporting evidence, and just follow through. And then if the process isn't working, then I think the committee needs to get involved.
Could we get possibly a report, since you've had technicians there? Is there a paper trail, so to speak, digital trail of trouble tickets for that location that you could access?
I'm sure it exists, but I like Dennis's idea of taking a video, what's the issue, as much information as possible, what specific units.
All right, we'll let's just go on
Okay.
for now.
Sure.
Because I don't want to take any more time.
Okay.
I have one other,
Okay.
I have one other thing. 2 meetings ago, so I didn't make the last meeting, my first meeting actually, I brought up the topic of of not having the educational, governmental, and public access channels on Spectrum app, or even online using a PC or using a telephone, whatever. What would it take? If I go to the guide, for instance, okay, on my smart TV or on my laptop, I can go to 1303. It says Government Access, CTSB. I click on it, and it comes back with. I'm sorry, I should have had this ready. It was back with service unavailable, that the channel is currently unavailable. They're working to restore service as soon as possible. And that's been there forever.
What channel is this?
1303 is the government access channel.
I think you're talking about an item that we already have as part of our RFP. So that's included in our request as part of the negotiations, that they include the programming, the same kind of information that's on the schedule of programs for each channel.
Right.
That they include CTSB's program.
Okay.
And the question is it possible then? What it would cost? What are the issues in making it happen?
When you say cost, you talk about cost to the towns or cost to CTSB?
And cost of Spectrum, yeah, the
cost
cost
of
of
Spectrum,
of making that happen. I don't know how it gets done for the commercial.
Right, and
stations,
I know he's not responsible for it.
but
I
we could
just
just investigate what it takes to piggyback on top of that.
Right.
Well, technically, and that's based on our existing agreement, CTSB's channels, 3 channels,
Right.
are supposed to be in the lowest tier.
Well, yeah, they got bounced up into the ionosphere,
Well,
channel number wise.
yes,
Yeah.
and that's an issue that they're linked. Because when you put it up in the stratosphere there,
Right.
it doesn't, they don't, first of all, they're not even being put up in the way that they are recorded. They are recorded in HD,
Right.
yeah. So,
Yeah, it's all standard resolution.
yes, and that's something that we're taking up. But as far as the listing, it doesn't say, there is a listing for, if you looked at the guide for 1301, 1302, and 1303.
1303.
Yes, there is a listing, but it doesn't say CTSB.
Yeah, it does.
It does again?
That's
It
the app.
changes.
That's the app.
That's,
That's the app, that's not cable.
oh, you're looking for the app?
Well, you do it through the app, yeah, through the app. I don't have a cable box.
Oh, okay.
So that's why I was saying, I mean, cable box, yeah,
You can see,
get it.
you can get some of the recorded stuff on, they have their own website, and they.
Oh, I know that.
Um,
But I was just saying, but we shouldn't have to. In other words,
you remember, which service is it? Is it on Vimeo that they're available? Yeah. The app, you have an app now?
Yes,
Cablecast.
Rich?
That's what he said.
Well, no,
No, I'm
he's
talking about
the
Spectrum app.
Yeah.
I'm not sure where the app comes from.
But you guys stream stuff too, I think, is what Linda was
Yeah.
talking about.
If
Yeah.
you were to call Rich, I think he's discussed this down to the level that you're looking at at a previous meeting,
Yeah, our
where
last meeting.
he discussed the app, the source of the app. I mean, he was
There's
into real
He might have done it
detail.
last time.
He did.
Yeah, I don't think you did.
Because that was the part of the meeting I missed. Okay, well, I apologize.
But call him,
So,
he's available,
yeah,
and he
yeah.
can go over this, because
Yeah.
he drilled down real
Okay,
far.
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, he's got an app that has Lee, Pittsfield, and North Adams, all their public channels. You get all three of them on an app, and it's in HD.
Right. But in terms of easy accessibility for people who have Spectrum and don't want to fuss with getting another app or whatever, for most people
That's
who
correct.
have a smart TV, why not have it as part of the regular channel lineup since it's available through a cable box?
If you're are you asking why Spectrum is not facilitating streaming on their cable TV service? Or I'm not sure.
I'm
trying to figure your question.
asking why Spectrum, who in all their advertising and everything you look at, promotes apps, the Spectrum app, as having all the capabilities of a cable box. Provided, given the area that you live in, it does talk about, well, if you're out of the area, you can't access certain channels, and that's understandable. If I go to Arkansas or something, there's only certain channels I can access. But if I'm home and I log in, through, I don't even have to log in because it knows my IP address, it knows what router I have assigned to me, and when I log in through the app, the Spectrum app, it gives me the channel lineup that I've
Right.
subscribed to.
Right.
However, it doesn't give me everything.
I think I know what you're talking about, Dan. That doesn't exist on the cable box either. It doesn't exist. And you would think that it exists.
What doesn't exist?
The programming, if you went
You
on.
can't access CTSB through the cable box?
You can't see what's being shown at the time, at the different times.
I'm not talking about the guide, I'm talking
The
about
guide,
programming.
The programming.
In other words, accessing the channel itself.
I see what you're saying.
In other words, the only thing that I can
Yeah.
see through the guide
Yeah,
using an app
I think that has
is
to do with the license agreement.
1303.
That's the difference between streaming TV and cable TV. The cable TV has a contract and a license, and it provides the funding, the 5% funding that goes to the CTSB. It provides the funding for capital expense. The streaming TV does not.
My question is then why does Spectrum not say that it excludes local access
on
program?
the app. Yeah.
Which it doesn't. And again, I know it's not your fault, this goes,
It's there.
other
I think if
departments.
you were to document this.
Could you watch
As
that?
you have explained it to us tonight,
If I were at home.
what I have found very effective with John
They don't.
is when I need help with someone in our town or such, I document it so that as he passes this on, because that's one of the jobs that I
So
see
could you
that John
access
does
from
for
here
us.
if you hit
He
that?
passes this stuff on to somebody who knows what and consolidate.
Well, right, no, I understand.
Then they understand exactly what's being asked of them.
Right.
And you will get an answer back from John.
Well, I know, and
That's what should be done.
what I'm getting here, though, is that Richard
Yeah,
made a presentation or answered some issues last time, which I missed.
right, and
So,
he talked about CSTB, is it?
CTSB.
CTSB's
right,
structure and delivery through
Right.
their app.
Right.
We didn't talk about
Right.
Spectrum.
okay.
Okay, so I think if you want
So
to
that's-
find out what
that's- so that's the
Spectrum's
part.
up to,
Yeah, just send me an
document it
email.
and send it to John, and he'll take
Okay,
care of
all right.
it.
But I'm not
Okay.
clear. I mean, I have the Spectrum app on my
Yes.
iPad, so if I were at home, I could watch, I have 1303. I have public access, educational access, government access. I could either watch it on my TV or on my iPad if I were at home. The thing is that
Interesting.
it doesn't break it down into what's on at specific
Oh, no,
times.
I'm not looking
That's
for a
not-
schedule. I'm not looking for a schedule. I'm just looking for
Oh.
programming.
But, yeah.
In other words, I can't
Have you
access.
updated your app?
I've-
I'm sorry,
Well,
but
no, that's
Are they
okay.
both
That's
Apple
okay.
devices?
this
both-
is, I don't know. Do
Okay.
you use Apple?
I have tried it on Android. I have tried it on Apple. I have tried it on iMac. I have tried it on Google Chrome. I have tried it on
What is yours?
Smart TV
This is
Samsung.
Apple?
So I have covered all the platforms. Just to give you an idea, I'm a technician. I deal with
And you can't get
electronics.
it onto the TV?
I deal with electronics.
Have you
I've been
called
dealing with
Spectrum,
electronics for a long
the,
time.
1-800
Well, no, I brought it up at the meeting here, which I thought was probably the best. And I figured that, hopefully I would get an answer through here. Have I called them on that issue? I don't know where to start.
I would
I mean, I could call you.
1-800
Just
Spectrum.
send me an email.
1-800.
And I'd like you two to talk, though, just to compare notes. We don't have to belabor this, but if you send me an email, but if you could talk to him and why she has a different experience than you, I don't know why. If you both tried it with Apple. I thought that might be a glitch, but,
Yeah, it's not because I've tried it on like.
No, I understand.
5 different platforms.
But I'll show you
so.
after if you want, to see if we're talking about the same app.
It's Spectrum app,
Right.
right.
But you're saying that it doesn't go up to 13?
It goes that high because above 1303 are all of the music channels. So, but the only one it shows for the access channels is 1303. It doesn't, and that's governmental, which it doesn't mention public, it doesn't mention
That's weird.
educational.
Yeah, this
and
has
hers it
it.
does.
And yours does?
Sure.
Interesting.
01 is public access, 1302 is educational.
Okay. No?
Okay, let's move on.
That's fine.
I like
was going
that.
to say, why don't you formally, write what the problem is,
I will.
send it to John,
I will.
and let's see if we can come up with a solution for you.
Okay, all right.
Okay? Okay, but I always say, and this is, if one person has a problem like that, or some other problems, like the problems that I bring up with the, then I'm not the only one who's got it.
Well, that's kind of why I brought it up. I didn't know whether.
There are other people who have
Yeah,
it,
other
so
people have the
so
problem,
it
yeah.
needs to be addressed.
Right.
Okay, so let's move on. Anything else for John?
I don't know if it's an appropriate question, but I know that we can't change the market that we're in. We're in the
No.
Albany, New York thing. But it said somewhere in that contract that we're supposed to have like one Massachusetts station, and I wondered if that's Channel 3 out of Springfield, which is kind of a low risk. Springfield, is there any chance of getting a Boston station? Or at least during elections, we didn't even get any of the ads. All we saw was New York.
We don't create the DMAs, unfortunately.
And the ascertainment report, there's probably a page that goes into the details of that. It's complicated. It's
very
not something that Spectrum does.
Good question, though.
Yeah.
It's been raised in every
asked
state in the
Smitty.
country for many years.
No, we have to go beyond Smitty.
Smitty told me to talk to Ed Markey. So is it
right. He's
a
right.
national thing or is it a
Well, the
state?
It's an
DMA,
FCC.
if you live near a state border and you're in, the DMA, like I get all the I live in the, closer to the Boston area, so I get all the New Hampshire ads in my market because it's part of the Boston DMA. So I was getting New Hampshire political ads, like,
Right.
voluminous.
But so for the primary, we actually got some Massachusetts ones, but it's up to the candidates to pay to have it in?
Well, wherever they pay for the ads.
It's paid advertising.
So,
It's up to the candidates where they want to spend their money.
but that didn't happen during the election. So it's
From
not,
Massachusetts?
yeah. It's annoying.
Yeah.
That's your
In New
advertising.
Hampshire, they
People are
spent a lot more on political advertising
No, actually-
election day than they did in Mass. Mass, it's kind of, we know
They
how the
refer to-
Mass elections usually go.
Yes,
They refer to Berkshire County as an orphan DMA,
right.
okay? It's out of state. It's based on archaic Nielsen ratings, okay? Nielsen, I don't even think is a company anymore.
It is,
It is?
yeah, but they're
Well,
doing other stuff.
For the most part, what I can see is it protects the interests of the New York stations that have had this market for a very long time.
Yes.
And the ascertainment document, it lists all the actions that need to be taken to change that, and it's expensive,
It's not going to happen.
and it probably won't happen.
Right.
But what could happen is an option, and it included in the negotiations is an option to add Massachusetts stations at some cost. I don't know if that's possible, but maybe that's possible.
Interesting. But they're all available on the internet.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Anything else for John? Thank you, John.
All right, thank you. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, everyone, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
And we'll see you after the New Year.
Yes.
That's good.
All right, thank you. First week, second week, you said you had a ballpark? Beginning of the month, end of the month,
For the negotiations?
mid-month? Okay, shooting for mid-month. Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
Maybe next year.
next. I'm going to do the CTSB report because Rich couldn't be with us tonight. Unfortunately, it's a COVID situation. It's not, he doesn't have it, but his mother does, and he is a single father, and he needed to have his mother babysit for him, and he couldn't do that, so we couldn't. But he had written us a wonderful report, which he asked if I would read it, and I said I certainly would. So here goes. It starts with the Fall Festival of Shakespeare, and it says the 34th Annual Fall Festival of Shakespeare was a complete success this year, streaming 11 school performances over 4 days. Each performance began with the show directors announcing how to watch CTSB live stream and how to order DVDs. Shakespeare staff occasionally announced people who had reported that they were watching from Key West, Colorado, California, and even Europe. It takes CTSB staff and crew 25 volunteers for 4 days to broadcast the Fall Festival of Shakespeare. CTSB volunteers were amazing, and I cannot thank them enough for taking time out of their busy schedules to give back to the not only the community television, but to the students and their families. According to Google Analytics, we had a combined total of 2,165 views throughout our website, with the additional 30 to 40 viewers per performance on the Cablecast app. As of today, we have $1,400 in DVD and streaming sales while orders continue to come in. CTSB staff worked with our CIP interns, to develop 2 promotional campaigns which began running during the Fall Festival. This is the name of the show. This is Your Community. So that's what it's in quotation marks here. Ad shows in 5 towns from a drone during peak of the fall foliage season. And the second campaign promotes what CTSB has to offer to the community, giving them an inside look at what we have to offer. Spectrum visit. Spectrum News One engineering manager Scott Mason, along with John Mayer, John probably should have stayed for this, but that's all right. No, he was there, so he knows what happened. So, visited the CTSB studio on November 3rd. The site visit was to determine the current condition of CTSB broadcast hardware, software, lighting, cameras, and tripods. Scott was able to witness our brand new cablecast servers and the many upgrades we have completed in the past 2 years, along with items in need of replacement, such as our training room computers that date back to 2013, along with our lighting system and the studio and other items such as our switcher, all of which are in desperate need of replacement. As an engineer in the news business, I feel Scott is very knowledgeable of current technology and the high cost of replacing such items. I think Scott's visit gave him a full understanding of where we are and what we need moving forward. I thank both John and Scott for making the trip to our studio. By the way, I'm going to throw this in. I was there, and I saw that Scott Mason was genuinely interested in seeing everything that was there, and generally interesting in seeing that the equipment there was certainly up to date and forward thinking. So I think that was a very positive thing to happen. And it went very, very easily and comfortably, and literally went through the entire studio building. So it was a very thorough situation. Okay, next item on this report. What's new at CTSB? Solo Creatives, and that's a title, of a new show produced by our board member Sherry Steiner, gives local artists and musicians a half hour in our studio to share their talents. Sherry has completed 5 episodes, with another 12 more scheduled. Episode 1 featured a local musician, Robin O'Heron. 2 episodes featured photographer David Ricci. Episode 3 featured Michael Paul Richard, a sculptor artist. And episode 4 featured guitarist Reese Shad. And episode 5 featured guitarist, singer, and author David Hodge. Recordings are scheduled while our Berkshire CIP, I don't know what the CIP, it's a program, CIP interns are here so they can operate the cameras and help our guests with setup. We currently have 6 interns from Berkshire CIP, students who do a great job, and we are very proud to teach them all about broadcasting and video production. As you may remember, CTSB was given an award from Berkshire CIP for outstanding service by a community provider. Award, that's the award, was given past summer. In addition, CTSB also received a check for $500 from the Berkshire Taconic Foundation, along with a wall display of memorabilia in recognition for the live coverage of the unveiling of the Elizabeth Freeman statue in Sheffield. Our current membership stands at 152 members. Our channels numbers are 1301, 1302, and 1303. We stream live to our website, www.ctsb.org, and our Cablecast app. The Cablecast app is in a single word. I encourage anyone interested in becoming a member or would like to tour of our studios to please stop by or call us at 413-243-8211. That's 413-243-8211. And that's Rich's report. Okay. And as it is written in the agenda, because he wrote this, because I sent him the agenda, he covered all the points. And we hope he's back for the next meeting. So, license renewal update is next on the agenda.
Before we do that, I pulled, when Congress passed Stella, which is the Satellite Television Extension Localism Act, reauthorization of 2014, provided means by which the FCC is able to add or delete communities from a commercial broadcast television station's local DMA, okay? That's exactly what we were talking about before. So how do you do it? You have to submit a petition. The orphan country must demonstrate that the proposed modifications are both technically and economically feasible. The petitioners would have to decide what channels they're seeking to add and would be tasked to demonstrate why their choice is the most appropriate. Okay, number 2, demonstrate support for the petition by satisfying factors outlined in the Reauthorization Act. The petitioners must assemble the information that can only be obtained by retaining experts in this field, by securing evaluations of DMA areas, by making inquiries and assessments of the extent to which existing channels will resist the petition. Okay, that's what I talked about the Albany stations, or that the requested channels support the petition, as well as hiring attorneys that have the expertise and experience practicing before the FCC. So the cost associated with the application process, retention of experts, generation of market data, studies, and reports to satisfy the conditions and issues the Act imposes, and hiring of experienced FCC attorneys to represent the petitioners would be considerable. So to date, Southern Berkshire state and federal legislators have all expressed a willingness to support Massachusetts-based DMA, but as of August 2022, there's no progress to resolve the issue. It's just too expensive and too onerous. So,
I think the other thing, to be honest, it's not high enough on the food chain. There are so many things that need attention.
It's also been an issue that's been on the agenda for
But the
years.
FCC can't even agree on who's going to be on the committee,
Right.
you know, and I mean, it's become a political issue.
We pushed years ago, I mean, this is going back to when I
Yeah.
was first on the
I don't-
advisory committee.
I don't say that it's
We
going to
wanted
happen
Massachusetts
anytime
channels,
soon.
and
Yeah.
we were not in the, you know.
I honestly believe that the best way to go is to do away with these market designations and let the free market figure it out.
That would be nice. But money talks. you know,
Well, the
and if
advertisers
you know,
should realize that if it's coming, if their advertising is coming here and we could care less about it, then they're wasting their money. They're paying for a population that's not responding
Well,
to their
if they're
advertising.
hitting their central market, they don't care about where else it goes. You know, if they're hitting their core market, they don't care if it ends up in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, or you know, or Taiwan.
Yeah, but they're paying based on eyeballs. Yeah.
Probably, yeah, I suppose to a degree. I mean,
Yeah,
there's
yeah, no,
gotta be a limit to their market.
No, I was a marketing,
Yeah.
sales promotion consultant.
Oh, yeah, well, no, I know.
ready?
Yeah.
So this is a license renewal update that is probably a refresher to information you already know. So I'm going to go over it quickly. That all 5 town cable licenses expire at the end of February. So it's 2.5 months from now. The Massachusetts Department of Telecommunications and Cable, the Mass DTC, oversees the process. Both state and federal laws protect a municipality's right to assess the cable operator's past performance and determine the future needs and interests of the community. And to that end, we're following that methodical process laid out by the DTC. We've moved past ascertainment that's been filed. We're in the phase 2 review process. So, you know, what's negotiable per state and federal law? We can negotiate town and community needs, resident input, consumer plights. We can negotiate spectrum's performance or non-performance, underserved parts of the community, suggestions to improve service. We can do a license comparison with other towns. we could negotiate CTSB's capital, their operating funds, or their PEG channel space. But we cannot negotiate, per the FCC, the price of cable, any added fees, TV programming, or broadband or internet, anything. So what's happened since our last meeting in September, after the ascertainment document was submitted, which was an RFP, John Mayer asked for a requested 30-day extension, which our group agreed to. Dan Ring, is that
Ring.
Ring was named outside counsel to Charter. Charter's engineer visited CTSB to evaluate the current equipment, which we talked about. Our attorney, the town's attorney, Bill Hewick, responded to that the five-town committee will follow an informal renewal process, so as long as Charter Spectrum negotiates in good faith. Dan also sent a red line of the five towns' proposed renewal license. We responded that the response was incomplete and asked Charter to directly address the ascertainment RFP. So they responded back that the agreements raised are best suited to a discussion during face-to-face negotiations, and we agreed. And Renee and Linda are currently drafting a response letter to start negotiations sometime in January.
Dennis, before you go on, I know we'll probably be using this presentation again.
Yeah.
Would you go back to your previous slide?
Yeah, there's a typo.
Date error of 2020 versus 2022.
Right on top.
I got
Right
it.
on top.
Okay.
Thank you.
So what the town's asking for, on August 30th, we presented Charter with a very strong evidence-based ascertainment report. And it had the input from over 500 Southern Berkshire residents. It was really powerful. Statistically, it was 95% accurate and it provided a concise, accurate accounting of Spectrum's performance as gauged by subscribers, as well as the future needs and interests of the Southern Berkshire residents. So the priorities in the RFP can be categorized as fund and maintain community TV in the Southern Berkshires. Kind of makes sense. And the importance of CTSB, I think, was really made known during the pandemic when people couldn't go to public meetings. They relied on CTSB to show that for them, to provide cable subscribers with the knowledge they need to make informed choices. What's to argue about that? Maintain town cable TV coverage to public buildings. That's something that we have in a contract right now. And strengthen and improve the five-town license agreement. So I'm going to go in more detail. In terms of fund and maintain the community TV, we're going to ask that the 5% funding that we have now, as a pass-through expense, be maintained. We're going to continue the capital expense project contribution as a pass-through expense. But with a little change, we're going to suggest a number per subscriber, which is going to be, we think it's going to be more attractive to Spectrum, especially when the number of subscribers is decreasing by an average of 3% a year. We are looking for CTSB to return their channel assignments of the CTSB to channels under 50, and that's similar to the vast majority of other PEG stations in Massachusetts. And our survey pointed out that less than 25% of Southern Berkshire cable subscribers even know where CTSB is located. And it's inaccessible to most residents. As one elderly subscriber told me in Lennox, he said that my thumb would be calloused if I had to hit the button to go up to 1301 or 2 or 3. I couldn't hit it that often. Yeah. We're looking to transition CTSB to HD broadcast next year, similar to all of Spectrum's commercial channels. And Spectrum has provided us with an estimate of $10,000 per channel that they could do that. It's doable. Include include the CTSB programming and Spectrum's TV channel schedule lineup. That's what I thought you were talking about, Dan.
Right, which did exist at one time.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I was talking about just the programming, just be able to view the programming.
With the data applications, they have this thing called data fetch, where the application goes out and fetches data, and I think it's just a programming issue for Spectrum, and I don't think it's going to be a big deal.
It shouldn't be.
No.
Yeah.
Provide closed captioning, and Renee and Linda and I have been anguishing about that. It requires more research. It's not required for organizations that have less than a $3 million budget. CTSB doesn't qualify. And there's a whole bunch of other issues in there that we just need to research more before we, it's on our RFP, but it needs more research. And then commit to maintain the same level of quality, video quality for CTSB as Spectrum's other stations.
Plus, I'm sure there's a cost involved.
Yeah.
It's closed captioning.
They have software that I think that's 95% accurate that just piggybacks
Vocal
on top.
recognition.
Yeah. So for Southern Berkshire residents, we're asking Spectrum to fully disclose subscriber privacy, provide annual privacy written notices, and third-party information sharing similar to other towns in Massachusetts. Everything that you watch, everything that you write, everyone you call, everyone who calls you is information that Spectrum gathers. Some of it's shared. Although their website says it's not, it's atomized. Provide full and honest disclosure of teaser cable subscription offers, including added fees and price. This is something that our subscribers, I can't remember how many people responded about that, but they didn't like that at all. Because they booked a TV subscription with a lowball price, and they were shocked when they found out how much it really was after the promotion period.
Yeah.
And for the towns, maintain basic cable service to town buildings, execute a 10-year license term that would, Renee feels strong about this. She doesn't want to renegotiate every 5 years. And then improve license agreement terms and conditions to protect town interests. And then just in general, strengthen the license agreement, provide a more comprehensive definition of revenue, clarify definitions, provide a performance bond, and then strengthen language around subscriber user rights. And then strengthen the complaint tracking. There have been somewhere an estimate over 200 complaints regarding the boxes in Southern Berkshire, and Spectrum only listed a handful, 5 complaints. They weren't recording them as complaints.
3 of them were my boxes.
Yeah. No, there's more than.
Even though the state, DTC, and their guidance report said thou shalt do that. So, in addition, while we can't negotiate these items, we'd like to discuss them because they're based on our subscriber survey input. We'd like to talk about a la carte customizable programming. Senior and low-income based pricing similar to those offered in some Massachusetts municipalities. An option to add Massachusetts, particularly Boston news stations and New England sports team coverage to alleviate the orphan DMA classification, which we talked about. We reside and vote in Massachusetts, not New York. All of our election news comes from New York. Spectrum's future intent to reduce programming repetitiveness. You can see the same program listed over and over on different channels. Resolution of poor quality cable boxes, which we talked about, and improved Spectrum training. So what's next? Per the Mass TC, we enter into formal negotiations. We decide if Spectrum has substantially complied with the material terms of the existing franchise and applicable law. that the quality of service, including signal quality, response to consumer plates, billing practices, have been are reasonable in light of the community needs, and that they're negotiating in good faith. And that at the end of our negotiation, if the committee will negotiate the best possible agreement terms and then recommend to the 5 town select boards, who are the issuing authorities, to accept or reject the license agreement proposal. So the 5 towns' relative size is really, really small. All told, the 5 towns have 6,392. And to compare that with Charter Spectrum, they have 15 million video subscribers. And I did the math. We represent a paltry 43,000th of 1% Spectrum video customers. Yeah. Small. And this, I was telling Linda before the meeting, this retired police officer in Lennox asked me, how are you going to negotiate against Charter Spectrum? You're going to be like spitting in the wind. It's going to be a take it or leave it offer. You have no power. And I said, do you remember David and Goliath? So the story of David defeating Goliath is an inspiring example how a plucky underdog could prevail against something more powerful, against the odds, using the ability to acquire and use knowledge strategically, a willingness to lead and do what's right, keen understanding of tactics, the confidence and courage to step forward to face someone more powerful. Our community needs and interests are important to us.
Well, the biggest slingshot you have that David has against Goliath is the fact that you're offering them a 10-year contract, not a 5.
That's a good one.
10-year contracts used to be only
They used to.
for the first term, and after that, after the first 10 years, then they were 5 years after that.
Yeah.
5 years after that. So that's a really powerful negotiating tool.
Yeah, I think so too.
It is. Plain and simple, because there's a lot of contracts all around the country that are still 5 years, and they would love to have a 10-year contract, to know that they're in place for 10 years instead of 5.
There's some communities that have 15-year contracts.
There is, yeah.
So what are our next steps, strategic next steps? We're going to negotiate with them. We're going to strive to be fair and open and honest. We're going to ensure that each party receives the benefits of a new contract. We're going to compare, contrast, and leverage existing cable TV agreements. There's 422 in addition to our 5 by other cities and towns in Massachusetts with Spectrum, as well as Comcast, Verizon, RCN, etc. We're going to organize an all Berkshire Community TV interest group because we think there's value to that. We're going to form a strategic alliance with 66 other Massachusetts cities and towns that hold Charter Spectrum cable TV licenses. We're going to share information on common interests, including our ascertainment, value of community TV, mass license research, and upcoming state legislative initiatives. And we're going to also contact and engage with state and federal representatives on issues pertaining to cable TV.
Yeah.
We're going to make our voices heard.
Yeah.
Just in closing, that we're going to work to our best of our ability, and your comments, input, suggestions are very much appreciated.
We have already engaged to some extent the Department of Telecommunication and Cable with what we're doing, and we've also talked to the Attorney General's office about the fact that we live with a contract that is continually breached. So it's not like we haven't started doing what David would do. We're putting our slingshots together.
Yeah.
I was a skeptical guy when I first took this position. And 2 years ago, I've done a lot of research, and Charter's not a bad company. They're competitive. There's another slide I put together that shows, it's a report by the FCC on broadband, who's offering the best broadband coverage. Guess what? It's Charter.
Yeah.
Their price is competitive with the stations in in eastern Massachusetts anyway. They have a lot going for them. They have great people, as we said, but some of the things they do are really stupid. And it's our hope that we can help them with that. Yeah.
We can enlighten them.
Yeah.
You said that there were 6,900.
6,392.
Okay, so based on that, is it that CTSB gets 95 cents per subscriber from Spectrum?
They would per month for.
Per month?
Per
It's on the
month.
bill.
95 cents.
Right.
Yes, for capital expense, capital improvements.
So then what's the 5%?
5% is 5% of revenue. So whatever Spectrum makes, 5% of that revenue would go to CTSB to pay Rich Frederick's wages to keep
Keep the
the
studio
power in the
operating.
studio, to provide this coverage right here, to employ Rob, who's doing our videotaping. You're supposed to turn the camera on you and wave.
Yeah, quick selfie.
So it sounds like a lot of money. It's not.
It's not. It doesn't sound like a lot of money. But so every month Spectrum actually sends the money to
No, it's,
quarterly?
no, it's actually annually.
But
It's
we're
yearly.
recommending that it be
We're going
Quarterly.
Yes.
quarterly,
Yeah.
you know.
I can provide you with a report of exactly what that is if you'd like, Anita. I know how you like information. I'll funnel you all sorts of information.
Thank you very much.
I think it's important
Yeah.
that everyone on this committee be aware and have read the ascertainment document that we put together. I don't know if anybody wants to wade into our proposed license renewal contract, but it's good. And the reason I suggest this is because I think there's going to be a number of questions coming up from people as this starts to make the news that we are negotiating, et cetera. And I think people will naturally come to their community representatives. I'm trying to remember, we have given this, all of the documentation to date to each of the towns, whether, I know some of them have put it up on their websites, which we have requested. I believe there maybe are some that have not. And we may go ahead and make another request that they do, because this is extremely vital information. And one thing that I am extremely happy with, I was on the latter part of the negotiations 10 years ago. And I think the Time Warner Cable and Charter are very different negotiating issues. But I do believe, from my vantage point, that we are much more prepared today. I'm going to give a lot of credit to Dennis, because he loves data, and then Linda and I work with it. Okay, well, we're a good team.
We complement each other.
We're a very good team, but we're very data driven. We're not going in not knowing what is available from other carriers. We're not going in not knowing what is standard, like this issue of placement with CTSB or PEG channels. I mean, we're going in very informed, and I think that's going to give us the position when we negotiate to have the data to say, why not?
We're going in well-armed, is the way
Well,
I
I don't
think of
see
it.
anything as a battle. I see this as a negotiation. We are going in with the data that we need to, I believe, make the case for what we have requested.
Well, it's.
And it will be up to Charter to say, why not? Which of course I do expect in many cases that'll be the case. And then we'll have to negotiate that, but we're much better prepared.
Absolutely, and I will vouch for the fact that we are, because I was in the negotiations 10 years ago from the beginning. So,
I won't tell you how far back I go.
no, I'm just saying that negotiation, when we started it, I was
Yeah.
in that negotiation from day one. Okay.
I wanted to share with the committee tonight something that, especially if you've had a chance to look at the 500 subscriber comments that Dennis mentioned, which is key to so much of this. I got a call from one of our older residents today in Sheffield, and I told her, I said, I can't do anything for you, okay? But I'm going to share this tonight because I think your comments are so timely. She called customer service, and she made note the fact that she's paying $155 a month for her cable television, okay? But she sees advertised on Spectrum $45 deals to new customers. And she kind of feels that this is in some way customer discrimination because she made the comment, and I wrote it down, she should get this price because she's been a long-time subscriber. She's the loyal customer, not the new customer. She also said that she has 2 boxes. She doesn't know why she's being charged $8 a box, but she is really intrigued by the fact that the box will not work unless it's hooked up, but she is charged an additional $1 a month to hook it up. So she, just think about what she said.
Is she being charged for the box or for a wireless router?
She's being charged for a box, and I'm not going to get into whether it's a
Okay,
router.
all right, okay.
She's being charged for a box that has to be connected for this to work, and then she's charged for it being connected.
I thought they were supplying boxes at no
Okay.
charge.
No.
No, they're supplied
So
and
let's
they'll
not
charge
get
if
off
you
the point of her
check-
comment.
if you're
Her
turning
comment is pointing out the absurdity of being charged, on the one hand, to have the box work and be connected, and then to be connected. And of course, the box without the connection does no good. So I think that's an issue. We talked a little bit about the state commission and what happens at hearings, as this is a regulated utility. And her last comment, and I have to say, she was just absolutely delightful to speak with. She's charged for, as part of her package, the sports channels. And she does not watch sports. So this gets back to our a la carte item that we brought up in our survey, that I think something like 95% of those responded. It was the highest.
Very.
It was the highest, I think, positive response of try to negotiate this. So I just wanted to share that, well, we've been doing all this work and documenting all of these things for umpteen months. She calls me today and she's right on board.
Yeah.
And
Do you
her
know
comments.
if she's gotten a special package like an NFL or an MLB package?
No, it's the bundled.
Yeah.
It's bundled.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want it. She doesn't want to watch sports.
Yeah.
She'd rather have a little bit less, more toward that $45 rate. Anyway, I just wanted to share that with you tonight.
There is a lower tier she could subscribe to. They have a basic tier.
Again,
Well,
we're not,
she wants.
the basic tier is so basic.
Yeah. Well,
You know,
and what their
again, I'm not out to
interests
solve
are.
her problems.
No,
I'm just out
but
to
for just
talk about the
subscribership.
customer that calls today with complaints. Fits in with everything that we have ascertained in the last 6 months.
You could help her save. $200 a year, and easy. Just have her purchase her own boxes, her own router, and and install it.
Well, I think that's a very good comment. I think one of the things that we should consider, she's an older resident.
Yeah.
She's not going to do this without help.
Yeah.
Many of our residents are not going to do things without help. They don't know how to go forward. There was a very interesting grant that was recently announced, and Sheffield has already submitted for it. MBI has now, there's tons of money coming into the state, okay, from infrastructure, from ARPA. There's lots of money out there. And MBI, until recently, has been focused on underserved, non-served communities, is now beginning to look at the whole issue of digital equity for all communities, no matter how you're served.
Hallelujah.
And they have a municipal digital equity planning grant application that I applied for today for our town, and you can take this, I don't expect members on the committee to do it, but take it to your town manager, administrator. And it is a free grant where they are looking at basically 3 things to make up digital equity, if I've got this right. One is access, and that includes appropriate speeds for what your needs are. One pipeline doesn't fit everybody. The second one is device access, having the devices, which Dennis, this fits in with what you just said, having the devices so that you can possibly get your bill down, but also having someone help you with that.
Right.
Okay, because
And
I don't want to
That's going
take
to be
that
local,
on.
maybe through the senior center?
I don't know, again, that'll be something that we'll try to solve in our planning. And the third one is training on how to use the digital tools and access that you have. So this grant is, a consultant comes in, BRPC, Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, will be one of those consultants available. 2 choices, a charrette or a planning. We're in Sheffield choosing for the planning. You bring the stakeholders together, just like you said, and we will develop a plan which will also involve, I believe, charter
Yeah.
in terms of providing awareness of the programs that are out there. And I'm very excited about this.
Yeah.
It turns out that MBI has both their own maps as well as federal government maps that show connectivity down to the residential level.
Wonderful.
So I just found out about that part of it today, which will help us when we negotiate build-outs. What areas of our communities are not served because they haven't been built out. So I'm hoping that those maps will be available possibly through Mark Malloy at BRPC. But this is good stuff.
It
And
is.
we all ought
If you
to
don't
jump on
have
this.
cable TV, you don't have broadband or vice versa.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, I'm looking at students that don't have the proper width at home to do their work.
Yeah.
I'm looking at people who potentially may be disabled and may need special equipment or special training. I'm looking at our seniors. I still don't know how to use my iPhone as I should. Okay, that's another thing, but that's part of the digital. It's just not cable TV. So this is very powerful.
The other thing that you should remember, Renee, is that low-income people are eligible for that 50% off. Charter Spectrum is one of the providers.
The provider, right.
That will do that.
And, you know, again, I've done my pitch. I hope all of our towns will jump on this
Yeah.
and make an application.
You said MBI?
MBI is Massachusetts Broadband Institute.
Thank you.
Yeah, MBI.
In terms of having sufficient bandwidth, the minimum, unless they offer a really low tier, but the minimum is 300 megahertz bandwidth for Spectrum Internet. 300 is a lot.
No, that's not the, it's
Yeah.
not the minimum.
It was 200.
That's
Did they
the minimum.
increase it
That's
to
the
3?
minimum they advertise on TV. It starts at 300.
That's if you're new, if you're already hooked up. No, you have to ask for it.
Again,
They might
digital
charge
equity
you
is
for it.
much more than cable. It's really giving people the tools that they need to do what they need to do in their life, whether it's the student or the business,
They
the
need to change
senior,
their advertising.
whatever.
Because
So-
they're advertising on TV.
Their advertising sucks. Excuse my language.
It's fine. But they're advertising that 300 megahertz is their minimum. They bumped everybody up. That, as far as I know, and again, well, he's not here, but as far as I know, that's applicable to everyone, unless you have basic, which or whatever that is. You know,
Well, there
which is
are a lot
just no
of, there are a
frills.
lot of particularly seniors who have just the basic.
You know, but I can remember 50, 60 megahertz bandwidth, and I got kids, you know, watching stuff, playing games on TV, plus I was watching, you know, apps, you know, and whatnot. So
Yeah.
it's not that bad. I mean, it's not the 1 gigahertz bandwidth that fiber,
No.
you know, Fiber One has in Egremont and Monterey and whatnot, you know, but you'd have to have a lot of
I was going to say,
action
unless
going
you're
on.
running a big business,
You know,
you don't need that.
you don't need that. You don't need that.
You don't use
300
that.
is pretty
Yeah.
sufficient, and I've taxed mine, you know, a lot, and 300 kicks some butt.
Yeah.
And for most people, that's sufficient. You could probably have 20 TVs running, 20 computers running with games, you know, and still not bog the system down.
No, I only have
So,
three TVs and my computer.
Yeah, yeah, I think you're fine. You know, but you can run a self-test, you know, people.
I know, I
there's
do it all
running
the time, by the
self-tests. Just check your bandwidth.
I do check it, and I'm
You
going to tell you
know, yeah.
something, I only hit the 300 once.
Really
Yes, and most often it's more like 200.
interesting, that you should report. Because then you're not getting what you're paying for. You know, so if the majority of times
Yeah.
it's 200.
All right, so I think I'm going to move on because we have veered off track, but we've exposed some interesting information. I'm not going to bother asking for the public if there's any questions, because we don't have any public today. New business, does anybody have any new business things for us?
I do. I just, again, think that we need to come up with a solution on posting public documents, meeting notices, meeting agendas, meeting minutes, documents like our ascertainment, like the survey, like everything that we do. And all I can think of is that maybe Google Docs is the way to do it. I don't know anything about that, but we have to come up with
Or
a
the
way
solution that you
so that each of
mentioned
the
before is
towns,
accessing it from one source, which would be, you know, Linux or whatever.
when you go onto each of the town websites, there should
There should
be
link back
5
to
town
that.
CAC. You click on a link and you have everything there.
Well, I'll talk to my town administrator because I know I'm now doing the minutes, though Dennis has offered to share that. I'm also doing the agendas for our subcommittee meetings, okay? I'll ask her if she would mind posting that on Town of Sheffield. We'll do a special thing, and if the other towns, you know, are behind in posting, at least somebody could go to that spot and they'd know that they could get the information. I'll ask her this week about that. I'll volunteer to do that.
There would have to be a blurb or a link on, for instance, Lennox town website that said, if you're looking
Connect
for
it,
meeting
press here,
minutes,
and it goes
go to
automatically.
Sheffield?
No, what it
It'll be
would
a
be,
link.
it would
Yeah.
be, there's several ways to set it up. One, each town can set it up as a unique whole, okay? What they want to do, I don't
Or
know.
one town
Or
can
when they
host it.
click on it, it goes to Sheffield, and nobody knows where they're going. It doesn't matter, you just go
No,
to
it
It's
the
just
doesn't
one
matter.
town
It's like
to
it
host
shows
it
up,
and the
right.
link
It
that
doesn't
does
matter.
it.
It doesn't
Transmitted,
matter.
yeah.
But I do, you know, we have had trouble getting the towns to, again, I don't know if this is the case, we had trouble for a couple of weeks, maybe they all had putting on the key documents that, you know, the
No,
ascertainment. and everybody on
I've heard
that?
something more recent.
Everybody's on that?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
So even posting of Rich's executive director's report, a lot of people don't know about
That's right.
CTSB, the breadth, the depth and breadth of the programs that he does, because they have no visibility to it. And posting a document on there may create some visibility, you know?
Well, then let's ask the question, where do the documents from this meeting go? Because that's part of this meeting.
Right.
Where do the documents from this meeting go?
Yeah.
Where are they kept?
Right.
They are actually just part of the meeting documentation.
But
for the
who
whole-
keeps them? They're permanent records. Who keeps them? Is it Lennox? I know Sheffield doesn't. No, they have to be kept in a town. They can't be kept at home. They're official records. Who stores these records?
She
Is it the
stores
town
them
of Leckett?
for the towns, for the CAC.
They need to be in town, a town's possession. They're public
All right,
records.
well,
They can't be kept at home.
We'll work that out.
Would Chris allow them to be kept in Lennox?
That's what I'm going to find out.
Excellent.
I'll ask Chris.
And then from that, just a routine, methodical process, which every document that's created, as part of our thing, get posted, gets sent to wherever, that website.
Yeah, it should be in each town. I mean, it should, if somebody walks into the town hall in Great Barrington, they should have access to whatever documents are, accumulated by this committee. So, I'm not talking about just online. I mean, they should, if somebody walks into the
Public
town hall.
documents have to be
they're
kept
public,
in
right?
written format, unless you have permission from the, whatever they're called, the Public Records Group. They have to be kept in public format, and there are, in readable format somewhere in a public space at a town government.
Okay.
And there are record retention on all of this stuff. I know that Lennox has done quite a bit, and Lee has too, of going to digital records. And then you get into the issue, can you throw away the paper or can't you? Those are other issues. But our records need to be held somewhere.
Yeah, I'll
So
talk
we'll
to
find out
Chris.
if Lennox will do it.
Yeah, yeah.
Great, thank you, Linda.
Okay, any other business? That would be new business, I just put that down. We'll call it new business. Any other business? I would just say, if anybody has any other business, I'm just going to do my wrap-up here of additional CAC members wanted. We have one opening in Great Barrington. We have 3 openings in Lee, that's why you don't see a Lee rep here. We have 1 opening in Lennox and 2 in Sheffield. So anybody who would like to join this committee and feels like they're up to it, because it's not something where you're just going to sit around at meetings, you're going to have to do some work. So just contact me, and I have a website that's, well, it's not a website, it's an email that comes directly to me, or you can, in your own towns, go in and say you're interested, and they will get your information to me. But the email is LZ, like zebra, Miller, with a hyphen, 5, the number 5, town, and then CAC, which is at roadrunner.com. That's LZ Miller hyphen 5 town CAC at roadrunner.com.
Is Roadrunner Time Warner?
Pardon me?
Or Roadrunner, that's...
It's an old one.
Yeah.
I've had it for a very long time.
is.
I've been not chairing this committee for a very long time.
I think it was Time Warner, but it still works, that's...
It's still alive. I mean, it's moved from different, whoever's held that particular program. But they've managed to keep a lot of people. I know other people who are still Roadrunner. And it's either, Roadrunner spelled out is one of them. But there's still Roadrunners that are rr.com with a location like nyc.rr.com. So there are lots of Roadrunners still out there.
Yeah, they take old domains and they can reassign them digitally behind the scenes. It's like what AOL did with Netscape years ago. I still have an old Netscape, which was like one of the original browsers, online. I still have a Netscape account, but I can access this through Netscape.com or through AOL.com. Same thing.
Interesting.
Okay, so that we have that, and the other question that I bring, not a question, but issue that I bring up is that volunteers are always needed at CTSB. And you can learn a lot there, you can gain a lot of knowledge there and of what goes on in the community, and it is a community service. So CTSB is always looking for new members. Anything else?
Happy holidays to everyone.
Yes.
Happy holidays, Happy New Year. And our next meeting is March 14th, 2022, 23, excuse me. 23. March 14th, 2023, 6:30 in Great Barrington.
Okay, we'll take care of that.
I would make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh, we don't need to second on that.
Okay.
That's an adjournment.
Just walk out the door.
I mean, that's one of the, takes precedence, the situation.